I learned something about myself recently that could be a game changer. I say could because I may not be able to follow through. It would require me to change my ways, to completely overhaul my way of thinking about something. But I do know this. It definitely could be a game changer for you. Let's start the meeting.
Whatever you're going through, you will get through it because you're here. And that means you are not alone. This is the Meaningful Meeting. Now your host, Ace Cannon.
First, let me thank you, because among all the other great things that you've done for me in my life through the years, your response to last week's edition of the Meaningful Meeting and the one before that, just phenomenal, just fantastic. And I appreciate it very, very much. For the one for my daughter that we did a few weeks ago with me and my son and my wife, and baby Dax was here. That was great. And then last week, my wife, if you missed it, Amanda had a great idea. And honestly, one of the things that I was attracted to it was I didn't have to make any notes. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was along for the ride. As she interviewed me, asked me questions about handling grief, how I handle things, what I've done well, what I haven't done well, what I could have done better, that kind of thing. And it was really interesting. And that's kind of what led to today's episode of the Meaningful Meeting. Now, a couple of disclaimers. One, I'm not a therapist. I'm just a guy who goofs off on the radio and podcasts all the time and tries to have a good time every day and make your life a little bit better, a little bit happier as we go along. That's my goal in life. That's my job in life. That's the way I've always seen myself. So I don't claim to be giving you any type of professional help. And quite honestly, this week I haven't put that much thought into it. So I'm just sharing with you what I go through, my life, how things are going, what I've done, what I've experienced, and you do with it what you will. But I hope today you could do something really cool with it, because I make no bones about the fact that I've been struggling with a few things for the past few years. Now, let me start even beyond the beginning, if that's even possible, which I don't think it is. Let me start by pointing out that this started, I guess, obviously with my daughter's death, which has now been 3 years ago. And that's just something that happens in life. Now, I didn't make a lot of notes for today, hardly any notes. We're just kind of running through my thoughts off the top of my head. So this could be a little bit scattered. That was a disclaimer I meant to give a minute ago, case in point. So let's say take it back and where everybody believes things started for me to kind of get into a rough situation. Following my divorce in 2017, I was very, blessed later in that year to meet Amanda, something I never thought I would have again, or honestly, something I didn't want. I came out of my divorce with every intention to never, ever be in another relationship, to never have a girlfriend, and maybe at best to have a girlfriend. That's it. I would date a lot, hang out with a lot of people, and just really be a very quiet, alone person. Then I met Amanda, and that was sheer accident, and immediately I knew there was something different there. It felt different immediately. And I appreciated this wonderful blessing that had come into my life. And that was not long after my divorce was finalized. I'd spent a couple of years kind of quietly going through this experience without anybody knowing, except for, my inner circle, so to speak, except for the people on the show. Very few people knew that I had been experiencing that. And that was my mindset coming out of it, was that was over, be the best dad that I can, be the best person that I can, and just continue to move on with life quietly, privately, alone. Plans change. Then you fast forward, things are going along well. Amanda and I got engaged, and then in July of 2020, my daughter died in a car crash. You know that. And obviously, I'm saddened by the death of my daughter. I'll never get over that. I've accepted that. And you talk to anybody whose child dies, they'll never get over that. They just don't. Like I said, you like talked about last week, you move forward. You don't move on from it. You just move forward from it because you take that person with you forever. But I am trying to make things positive out of that. I'm trying to use that to do some positive things in her name, some positive things to help others that I think are really important. So I'm not able to get into everything, obviously, that I don't want to talk about a lot of different people that I've been involved with during this time or what exactly has gone on. But just know, I've had a few things in my life that have happened that I'm not sure that I'll ever get over. There's a series of things, personally and professionally, where I feel like I have given my all to situations, and my giving all of myself has not been reciprocated. You couple that with the stress from Peyton's death, the death of my mother, the death of my wife's biological father, all within just a couple of years. And if you've ever experienced watching your mom die from something like Alzheimer's or dementia, it's just brutal. It's a brutal, brutal disease. So we had 3 deaths within 2 years of each other, which is a lot. Then you add to that the stress of launching a totally new career, which essentially just added responsibility because we've completely overhauled our career and started doing something new. And if you know anybody that's ever started a business, that can be overwhelming. That can be very stressful. And in doing so, it causes a lot of change in your life. It causes a lot of upheaval in your life. So you've got all of these things working together. And then here's what I don't do well in life. I don't really let go of things well. Big things. I had a therapist tell me one time that I'm suffering PTSD from something in my life. And I don't like that because I thought police officers suffer PTSD. Firemen suffer PTSD. People in the military on the front lines and all have suffered PTSD because of terrible situations that they've been through. This therapist tried to make me understand that, no, everybody can suffer. PTSD is different for everybody and your different experiences. So there's that. I carry certain things that have negatively impacted other things in my life going forward, personally and professionally. Now, that's not good. That's not the point. I'm just kind of building you a picture of what's been going on in my life. I'm getting to the good part here. Trust me. But I'm not going to get into all the details, but I will say things like this. For years, for a long time, I was able to do some really cool stuff for my mom. I was able to provide her with some things that she never thought about, take her some places, fly her to visit her grandkids and all that kind of stuff, and make her life a little bit easy for her. But when I felt she really needed me, for the first time, she really needed my help. I did not have the resources I had had for a few years to take care of her in the way I would have liked. I didn't have the resources to provide for her in a way that I would have liked to do for someone who I consider my hero. And that carries a great deal of guilt. I'm working on that. Just an example. And I've talked to you before about the pressure that I feel. And this all comes from me. This is a self-imposed pressure. And I'm my biggest problem. And I hope somebody can identify with that. I am my biggest problem. I put a tremendous amount of pressure on myself for my son to have the same great experiences that Peyton and Cade had. Now, it's not even fair to compare the situations because the world is a totally different place. I'm a different person at a different stage in my life, going through some different things. But that doesn't make any difference to me because I still want to be able to do for him the things I was able to do for them. I'm very proud of those things. And as I talked about last week with Amanda on this show, and it's something that she's had to get used to because I'm different than other people, I guess, that she's been around. I gain happiness in life from seeing other people be happy. Yeah, I do things that make me happy, but being able to take people places makes me happy. Being able to do things for people makes me happy, makes me the most happy. So I share all of this not to ask for your pity or for you to go, oh, poor Ace, he's been through so much. But to kind of give you a little idea of where my mind is as I tried to embark on this change. Because A few months ago, I came to a realization that I've got to do something. Like just sitting here doing the same thing over and over again is not working for me. And I've always been one to tell people, look, if you're going to do the same thing and it's not working for you, why would you do that again? No, and I've it's kind of a forest for the trees situation. When you're looking at someone else's situation, it's a lot easier to say, well, you're doing the same thing you did before and the same thing you did before that. It's never worked. Don't do that again. I couldn't see the forest for the trees. I couldn't see that I was just repeating a bad thought process over and over again. I was repeating a negative thought process. I was allowing every single thing in my life to be negative. It started from a negative place. And I decided to really make an effort to be a more positive person, or to be bluntly honest with you, to try. I am not, when it comes to me, if this makes any sense, the most positive person in the world. I operate from a standpoint of negativity. In other words, I operate from a standpoint of plan for the worst, hope for the best. And sometimes, over the course of quite a few years of growing up, that can begin to wear on someone. And then when you have a lot of negative things happen in a short span of time, you begin to just believe this is your place in life. This is your lot in life. This is where things are. Now, if I were to take you back to my childhood, while doing some intense work on myself, I think it all started there. While I've always believed good things happen and believe you can make good things happen, when it came to myself, I always believed in myself, but mentally and emotionally prepared myself for the very worst. So that if the worst happened, I'm okay. I've been ready for this. If something good happened, hey, great. But what I think happens over time is you begin to temper your reactions. You begin to temper the joy that you feel. You begin to temper the excitement that you feel when something good does happen. We've talked about it before. Celebrating your successes every now and then. It's okay every now and then to say, I did a good job here. I did a good thing here. So I'd kind of found myself, when all these really negative things began to happen to me over the course of a few years, and it really does seem like one after the other, bam, 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 bam. Now, it probably wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but I've allowed myself to slide down, 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 down. I realized I've got to change something. It's up to me. So I began to make an effort to not share my frustrations as much. I began to make an effort to really change my mindset and project more positivity to everyone. I began to make an effort to just seem like I believed in myself a little bit more than I really do. You've heard the old adage, fake it till you make it. Well, I haven't made it. But faking it does feel a little bit better. And that's the lesson. That's the whole point of this week's Meaningful Meeting. Somewhere you've got to start treating yourself a little bit better. You've got to start faking some positivity in your life. You've got to say, I can. Even if you don't believe it, you've got to do that. Now, here's the catch. I don't really feel in here, if you're listening to the podcast, by the way, I pointed to my heart and my head. I don't really feel that different My thought process still starts in a negative place. But then I tell myself, and sometimes I actually tell myself, physically say the words out loud. Hey, you got to be more positive. You got to be more positive. You got to be more positive. There is truth to that old adage, fake it till you make it. I still feel as if I am under a tremendous amount of pressure every single day. Much of that self-imposed. And I realize that that is probably not going to change until I accomplish some goals that I've set out for myself. But I will tell you this much. Some things in my life that I thought were very negative, some opportunities that I thought had passed me by. Suddenly I found out, well, maybe they haven't. Suddenly I found out, well, this process may take a little longer than I thought. Suddenly I found out these opportunities may still be able to present themselves to you. Now, whether they do or they don't, whatever you think about it, I know this much. When I made up my mind to change my thought process, when I made up my mind to try to bring some more positive thoughts into my mind, into my heart, into my being, and to project something more positive, when I made that decision, right after that was when I found out a couple of slightly positive things of note to self. All right? I say what you want, feel what you want, think what you want. Maybe it's just happenstance. That's possible. And you say, well, Ace, you didn't even say they were very positive things that happened. You said they were possibilities. Yeah. Got to start somewhere. It was enough to make me go, hey, I notice I have felt better. I felt a little bit better. Fake it till you make it. I don't feel that different. Still have trouble sleeping. I got a lot of stuff going on. I got some issues. But I do feel a little bit better physically, emotionally. I know I just said I don't feel that different, but I do feel a little bit different. And that little bit is a step in a positive direction. And it's enough that made me think that's the key to everything. Now, some people would call this manifesting. Some might think I've had a prayer answered. Not yet, I haven't. But I do know this much. When I made a decision with myself to be more positive, to try to project more positivity, to try to not focus on the negative so much, which I have become very guilty of in my life over the span of over a decade, where you just knew the bad thing was going to happen or something. I don't know what it is, but something bad's going to come of this. I knew I couldn't do that anymore. And as soon as I made that decision, a couple of little good things kind of happened. Maybe they will, maybe they won't work out in the long run. I don't know. But it was enough for me to realize, wow, I do feel a little bit different. I do feel a little bit better. I do see some positivity in my life. And that's key, because that's all you need. All you need is a little bit. All you need is enough to get you started. All you need is enough positivity, enough positive thoughts, enough good vibrations, for lack of a better term. All you need is just that much. That's all you need. Because that much suddenly becomes this much. For the people who are just listening to the podcast, I was using my fingers to do like an inch, 2 inches, that kind of thing. If you have just a little bit of positivity in your life, maybe, just maybe, you've got enough positive thoughts stored in your emotional piggy bank that when the negative happens, it's not a full withdrawal of all of your emotions out of the piggy bank at one time. Just maybe. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. But I'm trying. Maybe I've had enough positivity since I kind of tried to change my mindset a little bit. Maybe I've had enough that even if these things don't work out, there's enough there that I'll believe in myself a little bit more. Maybe it will expand my mind to some possibilities, some new ideas, some new opportunities. I don't know. Maybe it won't. And you say, well, what are you going to do with maybe? Here's what I'll do with maybe, because here's what I know. If I don't make this change, if I don't try to keep this going, it definitely will never get better, because the negativity is now winning for me. The negativity is now working for me. The negativity has worn me out over the course of a couple of decades. Nothing good is going to happen if I keep going down the negative path. Period. Nothing. At least when I'm walking the positive path a little bit more, albeit very slowly, kind of shuffling my feet along the positive path, at least there's the possibility then. At least there's some hope. At least an opportunity might present itself. There's a chance. You're saying I got a chance. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to give yourself a chance. And the only way to do that is by speaking to yourself in a more positive manner. The only way you're going to give yourself a chance to overcome whatever it is that you're trying to overcome in life is by giving yourself the opportunity. And I know that if I continue to focus on the negative, there's no chance there. There's no opportunity there. I'm wasting my time. And I'll never, ever, ever make it better. So why not give it a shot? Why not give myself a chance? Why not possibly create an opportunity for myself to feel better, to achieve some goals, to do some new things? And don't get me wrong, man, I am thankful. I thank God for my blessings. I've lived an amazing life. And there are times that someone asked me once, if you died tomorrow, would you think you've had a great life? Like, yeah, it's been hell. It's been tough. But I've had some incredibly awesome opportunities in life. And I've met some wonderful people. And I've been able to do some things that I'm extremely proud of. But I'm not done. And I need to enter this new phase of my life, this second phase of my life, the second act, so to speak, chapter 2. I've got to enter chapter 2 with a more positive thought process for myself. Because I know this much. With it, I got a chance. With it, something great might happen. With it, more than one great thing might happen. With it, I do have the possibility of having even more great blessings open up to me, even more great experiences and more new stuff to do. Maybe. But I know that without it, chapter 2 is going to be brutal. Just brutal. And I've got to do something to change that. And I hope that you can look at this and go, yeah, Exactly. Maybe it's saying things more positive. Maybe it is just focusing on, I'm going to focus on something a little more positive here because I need that. Just faking it to get started. Just pretend if you have to. Because I'm telling you, even if you don't really believe it, even if you believe you can't do it, you can't overcome, you'll never get yourself out of the rut following that divorce. You can't walk away from alcohol. You can't get yourself back together following that failed relationship. Whatever it might be, you can't get over that failed business. Whatever that thing is that's holding you back in life, whatever that thing is, or things that you feel are so overwhelming, I know this much. Until you start to treat yourself a little bit better, until you start to be a little more positive, you're not ever going to overcome those things. You don't have a chance. So why not give yourself a chance? Why not give yourself a chance? And maybe things work out great. And maybe you'll overcome what it is you're struggling with today. And maybe you'll be able to share how you did it and make somebody else's life a little bit better. Because remember, one day you will tell your story of how you overcome what you're going through now. And it will become part of someone else's survival guide. And I hope that somehow me sharing this with you today makes your survival a little bit easier, makes your tomorrow a little bit brighter, and brings you a few opportunities that you didn't expect.
Now, whatever you're going through, you're not alone. You are a part of the Meaningful Meeting, presented by the Radio Network. Copyright ATJ Inc. 2022.